Now, racing games have never really been my go-to genre, firstly because I absolutely suck at them, and secondly because I just never really have been a fan of any kind of sports-based game. I do however know that the MotoGP series has long been a fan favourite and that VG Games' latest release is looking to cash in on those looking for a more budget-friendly option. But does Moto Race Simulator GT Games deliver on what is promised? You bet your left bollock it doesn't, or if you're a lady, your left tit I suppose. But let's take a look at this crotch rocket riding turd of a game and see just how bad it really is. So before we get into the game, just to let you know, the eShop description of this one is definitely one of the worst I've seen in a while when it comes to the amount of bullshit it spouts, and so I will of course be tearing a new arsehole as we go along. Setting aside the fact that they state that it's a groundbreaking new game, which we already know is a load of bollocks, upon starting the game you get no settings menu and can select from either career mode or custom race, and you first get to create your rider and customise your moto. Now, the developers say that you can customise every detail of your moto to match your personal style and maximise its performance, which is just an outright lie, as there are about 6 generic bikes in the game, and the only thing you can customise on them are the colour of the chassis and wheel colour. They go on to say that you can also craft your rider's appearance, choosing from a vast array of options for helmets, clothes and boots. But again, a load of shite. You can select between 8 different colours on your outfit and helmet and can choose to ride as either this statuesque male character or this slumped down female one who looks like she's just returned from an all-night bender and comes complete with wonky tits and cat ears on her helmet. I of course went for the lady and opted for my usual hot pink colour scheme. Now once you've tailored your appearance and moto to your liking, it's then time to race. And each stage of career mode comes with both a qualifier where you have to complete a single lap solo to earn your starting grid position, and then the race itself. And you'll be racing against 9 other riders, all with incredibly creative names, such as Mason Roadster, Jake Pedal Power, Benjamin Bike, Zachary Zoomer, and my personal favourite, Ethan Gearhead. The second you load into the races though, there's no fanfare, the lights just illuminate and there's a brief pause before they turn green and you're off. And it's worth noting that the qualifiers are absolutely pointless, as regardless of your starting position, you'll always be faster off the mark than your opponents and will usually sail into lead position right from the get-go. Now I'll start by saying that to begin with, the racing mechanics in this one didn't seem all that bad. The controls are extremely simple, you have an accelerate and brake button and that's about it, and the steering left and right functions relatively well. That is until you hit the corners and realise that your bike actually has the turning circle of the fucking Titanic, whilst your opponents seem to manage the corners just fine. And hitting the brakes doesn't really help either, as it doesn't really allow for tighter turns and just slows you down to a crawl, allowing your competitors to pass you more easily. Not that any of this matters though, as on long straights, just like off the grid, you weigh faster than any of them, and additionally, once again they've done a shoddy job with the AI in this one, as they'll frequently crash into one another for no apparent reason, or just randomly flip off the bikes when taking turns. These developers don't do anything by halves though. When they make a shit game, they really make a shit game, and when they do ragdoll physics, they rag the shit out of those dolls, and the physics can basically go fuck themselves. And despite the eShop's description's claims, neither the physics nor the controls are realistic, but I have to admit, the physics in the game are undoubtedly my favourite aspect of it. I also discovered that regardless of what surface you're travelling on, your bike's speed, acceleration and handling will still operate the same, and so cutting across the grass or gravel gives you an even bigger advantage over your opponents, who will always stick to the racing line. Now, like I said, you have to race both a qualifier and a standard race on each of the game's tracks, and the tracks themselves, which the developer describes as being iconic motorbike and street circuits from across the globe, are in fact pretty generic. Well, all except this one maybe. But the game contains 20 tracks in total, none of which are iconic, nor are any of them street circuits, and they have in fact been created using Racetrack Generator, the same tool that Pixar's used in the Grand Prix racing game, and one which can generate tracks in a matter of seconds with no effort whatsoever. After racing through about 6 or so of these tracks though, I'd pretty much had my fill with them, and regardless of what position you come in career mode, you still get to advance to the next stage and there are no rewards or unlocks, so the entire thing is pretty pointless anyway. Moving on to the game's custom mode, we first get to select our bike class, but both the 600 and 1000cc classes are locked until you complete some arbitrary stage in the career mode, which I just simply refuse to do. Your 250cc bike, however, packs more than enough power, reaching top speeds of over 300 km per hour, breaking the current land speed record of a bike of this calibre by over 100 km per hour, which is rather impressive if you ask me, and it almost convinced me to play long enough to unlock those higher cc bikes to see just how fast they could go. 600 km per hour maybe, 1200 km per hour, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Anyway, once you've selected your bike, you can then select your track, and like I said, there are 20 in total, which you can choose to race on either solo or with opponents, and if you wish you can race up to 10 laps on them. Each of them is showcased with its own generic little picture though, and include iconic locations such as Japan, Spain and Great Britain, as well as German and Nederland. Regardless of what track you pick though, the experience is the same. Ride around the track, expect your opponents to crash, and then finish it in whatever place you see fit. So all in all, not the worst game I've played from Desvault Games, but certainly not a good one, and you can pretty much ignore the entirety of the eShop description for it, bar a couple of the key features. Though I do think that the developers think that the bikes themselves are actually called MotoGPs for some reason. Oh, and as you can probably tell, the graphics aren't stunning, and as for that heart-pounding audio, have a listen for yourselves. Anyway, that just about does it for this one. Another one to avoid as far as I'm concerned, but let me know if you've played it and what you thought of it down in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this one though, feel free to drop a like, subscribe for more like it, and be sure to check out my Scam Games playlist. Until next time though, thanks once again for watching, take care of yourselves, and game on.